good evening and welcome to the final episode in this season of Off Track. Tonight I'm going to be chatting to a driver whose surname is synonymous with the sport of Formula 1 stock car racing, number 212, Danny Wainman. Danny, hello, thank you very much for doing this tonight.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
So normally we do this on a Sunday night, but we said, can we do Sunday? And you're like, no, Sunday's a blank site in my calendar, can we do Monday? So I don't know why. Why was that?
Sundays for NASCAR.
Okay.
I like to watch my NASCAR, and it was a good race, so it was worth missing it for last night.
So I thought it's because you wanted to watch Line of Duty, to be fair.
No, and I'm looking at all the comments on Facebook. I'm quite glad I didn't get into Line of Duty.
Yes, no, it wasn't a great ending. It wasn't any, but no, it wasn't. But so good. I'm glad you enjoyed NASCAR and you didn't miss anything on Line of Duty. So right. So as I referenced at the beginning, you were quite literally born into the sport. It must have been an amazing childhood to grow up surrounded by stock cars.
Yeah, it is, to be honest. You meet a lot of people with it, especially at the farm with Frankie building cars a lot. You meet a lot of new people coming up, and fans always seem to come up here as well. So it is good being around it all.
Yeah. So it's a fantastic childhood. It must have been. So you had a really successful career in Minis, which preceded your entry into Formula One at the age of 16. Was there ever a question of you doing anything else other than Formula One stock car racing?
Probably not. I did V8s a little bit to start with alongside my F1, and that was only because my dad had his V8 there for me to race. A few years later, I had to go in an F2 from Andy Palmer. It was just a car swap situation. And then, no, I think if I'd have been good enough, I'd have liked to move to America and just race NASCAR, but I'm not that good. So.
But you're watching it enough, though, on a Sunday night, because it's, so you might pick up some tips and, maybe.
Yeah, one day. Well, I say one day, I'm 30 odd now nearly, so no.
It's good to dream. It's good to dream, Danny.
Yeah, definitely.
You have a real similarity with Stuart Smith Jr. So you've both got dads and brothers that were incredibly successful and were being successful in stock car racing. Did you two ever kind of speak about that?
Not a lot, to be honest. Stuart's that bit older than me, so he sort of came into it a bit before me, and he'd established himself long before I came into it anyway. So not so much with Stuart then. We talk about it a lot now, to be honest, a lot more. Our wives were all good friends, so we're always at each other's houses a bit now, and it is good getting to know Stuart from racing as well. But, no, we never really talked about the pressure of the name, if you know what I mean.
It must be very different, sort of talking or seeing Stuart at a racetrack and at home, because when I did the interview with him, it was a very different person to what I expected him to be. Yeah,
Stuart at a racetrack is very determined, and his mind's just on racing and making sure he wins. Stuart at home's totally different. He's funny. I can't stop hearing Peter Kay when I listen to him. So yeah.
He did, because we did the interview. It was like proper making me laugh, and I was like, "This is not what I expected," because I didn't know him or never spoken to him. So
yeah,
good. Right. So when you came into Formula One, it felt like, from what I remember, you had a real spotlight on you when you started, because of your surname. Did you feel any pressure and expectation? And I guess has that continued as you've progressed in your career?
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of pressure because of my name. My brother was at the time I'm still one of the best, so there was a lot of pressure. Later stages of my mini career at Skegness, I think it was, I did a really good meeting, and the time the chairman of the BSCDA said to me, "We need to talk about you coming in as a white top, we want you in as a blue top," and I thought, I hadn't even driven a car yet, you can't just put me in that. But so I always thought there was going to be a lot of pressure on me, and yeah, sometimes when people think you're going to be that good, when you have a bad meeting or something like that, they're straight at you, whereas somebody under the radar don't get that a lot.
Yeah, because like in the pits, for example, at a stock car meeting, pre-COVID, you guys haven't got lots of people around you. It must be a bit of a, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does come with it. You sort of grown up with it, so you know there's going to be a lot of expectation. But like I said, sometimes when you think you've done really well and nobody ever says anything, you think they just expect you to do well because of your last name.
Yeah.
It isn't just about your last name a lot of the time. Yeah, I've got good advice coming in from Frankie and my dad and lots of other people, but when you do have a good meeting, it's nice to know sometimes, but not just be predicted to do good.
Yeah, no, I understand that, and it's quite interesting that you said that, so thank you. So in the beginning, and you've mentioned Frankie, so as you'd expect, living on the farm, you and Frankie travelled together, but then it kind of sort of seemed like you then went off on your own. You had your own truck, you travelled separately. Was there a specific reason why you chose to do that?
Not really, no. I knew with Phoebe and little Frankie coming up that they'd want to go racing on, like, we'd have to take their cars more and stuff like that. And I just thought it was about the right time to step up and go on my own a little bit. It was costing a bit in hotels and stuff like that, as well as getting there. So and luckily a truck came about that we knew a lot about. It was built by Frankie and Clint Durrell, and it was a fantastic truck to buy. And it was the right price, so we just bought that. We still set off at the same time. Well, no, Frankie has to set off 5 minutes before me. He has to make that. But we still travel down pretty much together, and we park in the pits together because we're still a team, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just we can't get all the cars there in one transporter.
No. So do you actually have a route to get off the farm first?
I don't. Frankie does. He just seems to think that there's a race. Everything with Frankie's a race.
Okay.
No matter what it is. So I'll park in yard and then he'll come and park and reverse in front of me, so I have to wait for him to go. And he's much faster than mine, so
Brilliant. So at the farm then, I assume you have your own workshop. Do you have any involvement in, I guess, what Frankie and the other side are doing, if you like, or do you kind of stick to what you're doing?
I don't have a lot of involvement as such. If they needed me to advice, or little Frankie and Phoebe ask me for advice a lot of time, because to be honest, Frank is very busy.
Yeah.
They've got 3 or 4 mechanics who come up week in, week out, and like if you listen to all the interviews that other people have done, they say you need a team of 2 or 3, and that's just for one car or one driver. So they've got 2 or 3 just to try and get 4 or 5 cars ready for the next weekend, and it is quite stressful in there at times. I go in there and line things up a little bit, I must say, but it's one of them. They're very committed to get week in, week out.
Yeah.
And I think to do that, Frankie's got to keep pressure on them all and keep them working.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have a team then come up and help you?
Yeah, I have a good team. There's Tom, James, and Stuart, and they're not week in, week out. They come up at least once a week between them all. And if you don't have a team, you can't do an F1, I don't think. And to be honest, over the lockdown and the time off we've had, they've come up a little bit now towards the end, and it's good to have them back in the garage. It's a boring place on your own.
Yeah. No, like you say, everybody we've pretty much spoken to, and you've referenced, you need a team of people around you. But I guess for mechanics to come up, and it's a big commitment on their part, isn't it, to spend 2, 3, 4 nights a week, working on a stock car?
Yeah, definitely. Especially with a lot of Frank's mechanics are at least an hour away, so they're working all day. They land up at farm at 6 o'clock there, and they're working till 10:30, 11 o'clock sometimes.
Yeah.
And then an hour's home to drive, get cleaned up. Then it's a big commitment, and like I say, he's got 3 or 4 really committed lads, and if it weren't for them, I don't know what he'd do, because you'd have to pay somebody to do it, and you can't afford to pay somebody to do it.
No. Okay, that's really interesting and insightful. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So you started Formula One in 2008, and you've won a number of the sports championships. But which been your standout moment so far?
For me, I've got 2, and they're both quite sentimental ones, really.
Okay.
One of them was a final I won at Bellevue, and I'd done really well. I was racing with Craig, Tom, and Dan, and speaking. I got the better of them on the last lap, and I won. And it meant a lot to me because it was the first meeting after Ben Turner had died, and I could dedicate a win to him straight away, and it did mean a lot, that one. And then the next one is the under 25s that I won at Birmingham.
Yeah.
And the main reason for that is Dave Lennon was a big sponsor of mine, and Debbie, and in all fairness, now we know it was Dave's last one, so he actually got he was desperate for me to win one because he was my sponsor, and that winning that on the 25s on that night and sharing it with Dave was very special.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So just you mentioned Ben Turner, and forgive me, I don't know a huge amount of it, but he was a boy who was quite poorly, wasn't he, and quite linked in with you guys.
Yeah, I think he was just one of our fans, and he proper was a big fan. And when you hear of a lad going through such a trauma like that at such an early age, you sort of want to make sure you do as much as you can for him. And I know it was a sad day when it was his funeral. Me, Frankie, and Chris Brins and little Frankie, we carried the coffin for him, and it was a very emotional day, put it that way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you mentioned Dave Leonard, a huge supporter of stock cars and yourself, and behind the under-25 race, wasn't he? And that instrumental in bringing that into the sport. So, a fantastic contribution he'd made.
Yeah, definitely. He was a big sponsor of mine as well, was Dave, and this is the first year this year that Dave's name's not going to be on the back panel, which was a bit hard to take, but he's still in the car.
Yeah,
Still on the car for him, but yeah, he was always a big part of my life before racing, before I got into F1s anyway.
Yeah, brilliant, Danny. Thank you so much for that. I mean, it's really kind of, like I say, lovely to dedicate the wins to the two people you mentioned.
Yeah, definitely, straight away.
Okay, so moving on to your race win, you first won a race in 2008 at Sheffield, and a couple of years later, you won your first final at Sheffield. So, would it be fair to say that Sheffield's your favourite track?
Yeah, for some reason I go there with a lot of confidence, as Rebecca Smith would say.
Yes.
As you'll get onto later, but yeah, I've just got to Sheffield knowing that I'm going to do well, and I think Tom Harris has that attitude at every track, but I don't, and I go to Sheffield knowing that I'm going to do my best, and I think that's how you've got to attack that track as well.
Yeah, because Sheffield's a bit of a Marmite track, isn't it? Some drivers love it, some really don't like it. So, is it the fact that you're racing so close to the fence, or are you kind of pretty much on it all the way around? What is it that kind of does it for you, I guess?
I don't know. It's just a track I've just gelled with. I've been in the fence a few times, and it never hurts. So yes, it does a lot of damage. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It's just a track where you're on the edge all the time, and I don't know, just do well there. So I have the confidence there.
Yeah. So on the flip to that, is there a track you don't particularly like racing at, or I guess looking at tracks in the past you've not particularly enjoyed racing at?
I like racing them all. It's got to be Ipswich really. It doesn't gel as a stock car track itself, and it's 5.5 hours away.
Yeah.
I'm bored of driving by the time I've got there, so I'm never going to do any good. But yeah, I haven't done an Ipswich for a few years, only the World Final. It's just a track I don't know. It's probably because it's too far away.
Yeah, no, it is a track, isn't it? You're quite right. And I was looking down the fixture list at kind of the first few meetings, and I was like, Ipswich on the 19th. It's great to go. Yeah.
It's just too far, especially for us. I'd have probably Frankie will do it, but no, not this year.
Yeah, no, I get that. Okay, so the 2014 European Championship at Northampton, you had a real chance of taking the title. You came home second behind Frankie. So going into that last corner, and I guess looking back on it now, did you think you could have had a go and attacked him and maybe won the race?
I think if you ask every driver if they could win a race a different way, they would do. Yes and no. On the last restart, me and Frankie got away at the start, and we both was quite quick. And to be honest, I found myself in second, and I was really happy with. I wasn't going to catch Frank, and then the yellows came out. And I sat on the grid and I looked in my mirror and I had Rob Speak behind me, and I thought to myself, I know where I'm going to end up, on top of Frankie on the first bend. So I just didn't look in my mirror, and I focused on getting through the first couple of bends. And I didn't know at the time that there were black flagging Speaky for jumping the start. I didn't know that. went into first bend and I got up the inside of Frankie straight away. Next bend, he just stuck me wide onto the oil. And yeah, I probably should have gone for it next bend and not left it. I left it one lap and I was too far back then.
Yeah.
So even if it wasn't Frankie going into the last bend, I don't think I'd have tried it. I was that far back after the one lap, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Because there's that decision you need to make, isn't it? I can get a great second place in a big championship in the sport, or I'm not going to finish, and or you could win. It's like, what do you do?
Well, it's never too far back. In to look at Stewart and
yeah,
that British, nobody ever said he thought he could get that, and he did. So I think in hindsight, yeah, maybe should have gone for it, but I didn't.
No, but we're happy with. In some respects, second's good. It is good.
It is good. It's unlike Matt Newton. We're second in quite a few championships, and I think we've been on podium together quite a few times now. And one day I might just do it.
Yeah,
we'll see.
So is the times when you and Matt are kind of sat in the pits together in a corner, like consoling each other about these second places?
To be honest, I get on really well with Matt, and yeah, we do sit there and we go ready to go get second and stuff like that. I think we put ourselves down too much. I think we just stock cars is a lot about if you get away at the start and you're on your own, you're fine. It's if you're battling and you use up your tyres too early, you're never going to get to end. And I think that's why in that European I got away. So I still had a lot left, and I don't know. It was just one of them.
Plenty more seasons to go though, so we'll park it there. Right, speaking of Northampton, you've become quite famous for quite literally riding the wall around there.
Yep. Pretty good at it now.
Yeah. There's one that sticks in my mind. Will Hunter, going into turns 3 and 4. That was a big one. What was that about?
To be honest, it was. I think it was me more. I'd fired him fairly hard the bend before, and I had him a couple of times before that. And I was in a bad mood. I should have had second in the final. If it had been a shootout round, it'd have been that. I was on for second in the final, and I got beside of Murray Jones and hooked his wheel and ended up parked on top of him. And I was really annoyed and went out in the Grand National and just driving like early.
So
Will got me and he got me good, and yeah, it one of them. It just went, it not come out of gear, so it went in a lot faster than it should have done as well. And
right, okay.
I don't know. That wasn't the worst one for me. The worst one for me was when Speaky put me in. Well, it wasn't Speaky, it was Sean Blakemore at the end of it.
Yeah.
But that one really hurt because that was continuous all the way in.
Yeah. Why? Do you ever find out why? I mean, I remember that one as well.
You know what? We never did.
Okay.
I don't know. It was just, I don't know if he just got onto the back of a train of cars and it looked spectacular.
Yeah.
It was just one of them. I got him back the week after at Buxton and he come over, oh, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to do you in Northampton. So it might have been an accident, I don't know, but it was good. It was good for pictures and everything. So.
Yeah. But maybe he should have told you before you put him in at Buxton that he didn't mean to. Do you know, a bit late then, weren't it?
I think that makes it worse. I don't know even harder.
But there is that, isn't there? I mean, you've mentioned about, you've watched some of the interviews, but drivers always talk about that. It's that rivalry that you have at a stock car track, and that's what people go and watch. If somebody's put you in one week, then fans are expecting you to put them in the following week. That's kind of what stock car racing is, isn't it?
Definitely, you've got to keep on track. I've always been a big believer in that. Not going on social media after and stuff like that when something happens. I like to put my head down and just. To be honest, we're all mates off the track nearly.
Right.
When Will Hunter put me in at Northampton, we stopped in the services and he was there, and I was just talking to him. I'm not that type of person who brings anything off track unless it's dirty.
Yeah.
I think when Will put me in, it was a straight hit. He didn't do anything wrong, but if somebody went round, like jumped the curb and tried to clean my roll cage out or something like that, then yeah, I'd be a bit. When it's clean, you don't mind.
No, it's a great attitude to have. Done absolutely.
Yeah.
Right. So staying on Northampton still and big hits. So when I interviewed Dan Johnson, we spoke about a massive crash in the shootout final at Northampton, which was caused by Frankie. But Dan Johnson blames you for it because Frankie was using your car.
Dan Johnson blames me for a lot of things that happened at Northampton. That was
Does
definitely
he?
him. Yeah, he
Oh.
does. Yeah, yeah, he's always blaming me. But I don't know. I let Frankie have my car. I think he's done engine at Birmingham on a Saturday. That year I wasn't in the shootout, and why not let him use my car? He bloody won Eaton final in it, didn't he? So
Yeah.
it was well worth it. I didn't get the prize money, bearing in mind.
Just we'll pause it there, and then we can like Jordan can put dramatic music in. Do you know what I mean? And like, Frankie can...
Bug life stickers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he was. I think it was a good idea, Frankie racing it. At the time his car wasn't very good, and he needed a more box standard car. He was trying to do new things on his car, but I think I don't know, stuff wasn't working, and I told him to race mine. It's quick, and he proved it was quick. And I think the year after, then he built the car that Ashley England now has, and did really well.
Yeah. Okay. So you're not taking any blame for that big crash? Nothing to do with you?
Not that big crash, no. Definitely not. Dan can blame Frankie for that one.
Brilliant. I know I keep referencing previous interviews, but when we spoke to Daz Kitson, we talked about his massive role at Hednesford, running over down the back straight, and you collected him while I was upside down. It must have been a heart-stopping moment from your perspective and your viewpoint of
that. At the time, I didn't know what had happened.
Okay.
He's so fast at Hednesford down them straights, and I don't know. It was really early on in the race. I can't just remember, and all I remember is I saw somebody go left, and I went to go left, but Mick Sorder pushing me, and we just trained straight through everything. And I thought I was going over at the end of it, and ended up, I don't know, just it ripped all. It was a bad season to start with that season, and I had a very emotional day that day because I'd hurt myself at the first Skegness. I'd only done one lap and ripped the car off. There a car spun out and I hit head on, and I just rebuilt it all for the Birmingham Hednesford weekend. It took me ages to get the car set up right on the Saturday at Birmingham, and then ripped every axle out of it on the Sunday at Hednesford. So it wasn't a good year start wise.
No, I do remember you having a lot of damage from that crash, and Dad said he pretty much walked away unscathed, if you like.
Yeah,
came off
it was too trapped to job off.
Yeah.
And I remember Marvin Hall putting something on like Stuxnet, like, oh, Danny Wainman's loading up, could have probably got it back out. And I'm thinking to myself, we don't give up. We always fix cars and everything, but I just couldn't. I wasn't emotionally right to fix it, never. And it's Hednesford. You don't fix a car, bodge a car for Hednesford.
No.
Maybe Bellevue, but not Hednesford.
No.
So that was it was scary when you watch it back and stuff like that. And you watch a lot of crashes back and you think, Jesus Christ, how have people walked away from some of these? And you've just got to look at the safety stuff now, I think, and hands devices and better quality seats and helmets and stuff are working, I think.
Yeah, I think what you've really highlighted there is people don't understand, I guess, what it takes to get a stock car on track. You said that big crash at Skeg, and then you spent all that time to get it there, and it's just like it must be so demoralising as well when you spend all that time, effort, and money, and just it's like wrecked to get on the back of your truck. It's like
that was the thing. I think luckily my dad had turned up that day with 2 cars for somebody else or something. I can't remember, but my dad was there with a flatbed lorry.
Yeah.
So it just got lifted onto there, and that was it. And it was just so wrecked. It was unbelievable. And then somebody just like Marvin, who knows a lot about stock cars, to comment something like that, I wasn't happy. I think I let him know about it that day as well.
How long did it take you before you went and looked at the car again when it was back in the workshop? Did it take a few days before you could even look at what you needed to do?
Not really, to be honest. I have a good set of lads, and I think Stuart at the time had like Monday off work, and I think he like got it in garage and started stripping it down. I think once you strip all bent parts off, they're not too bad. But it trolleyed the front axle and snapped the back axle, so it was always a lot of work.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. Good. We'll move on for like something that makes you sad. So right. So you've been involved with the sport, actually, from day one. What's the biggest change that you've seen in the sport over that time, would you say?
Engines, I think.
Okay.
When I first started, I had like an old 454 with cast heads on it and stuff like that. And it got me to red top, and I used it on tarmac a little bit, and it struggled. Don't get me wrong. And then I went and got like a eight grand small block, and I noticed a big difference then. But like them 8 grand small blocks are cutting it now. It's like you need to go to the 20 grand small blocks, I think, and a lot of it is psychological. You could look at Mal Brown, who does well at nearly every shale track, and you know his shockers don't work half at the time. His brake pads are a pad on pad, and you know his ball tyres, and he still goes out there and he's really fast. Sometimes a lot of it is in your head.
Yeah.
But the big thing I think is engines have just got more advanced. The technology's better. People are putting more money into it because you can get better things and stuff like that.
Okay, but you know, like when people talk about engines and things like that, and you say, well, it's okay because it's an unlimited formula, but they're restricted in some respects because of the tyres that we roll and the brake pads we use. Does it make that much difference? I mean, spending 20 grand on an engine opposed to when you've got the
psychologically, yes.
Okay.
I've got a 20 grand engine now in my time. Well, my car, not time
Yeah.
car anymore. And I drive it. It's hard to drive. It's like you can't press the throttle all the way down and stuff like that.
Okay.
When my 8 grand engines were easy to drive and I felt just as fast.
Yeah.
But it's knowing that you've got that bit more to use, I think.
Okay. No, that makes sense. It's a good answer. So thank you for that. So the majority of drivers that who race Formula One come from an oval racing background. It's unusual for somebody to come in from sort of outside the sport into Formula One, be successful, and sort of stay in. What do you think we can do as a sport to help people come into Formula One?
I don't think we can.
Okay.
I think the contact side of it is what brings people into it and then puts them off.
Right, okay.
I think if you haven't been brought up in contact racing, like the Ministox are a good breeder formula for F1 because of contact, and I think that's a lot of it. I think a lot of like ORC formula, not ORC, circuit racing and stuff like that, it's non-contact, and a lot of it you're on your own a lot of the time. I think, and I think stock cars is you're really close together and it's full contact.
Yeah.
I think the only way you could maybe bring somebody into it is they mechanic for you for like a season or something and get used to fixing things, because at circuit days they break it and then go home and come back 3 weeks later, don't they?
Yeah.
They're not fixing it for the next race or for consolation. So I think learning the craft of it before they buy a car.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because it is quite I don't know, it's off-putting, but there almost seems so much to learn about setting up a stock car and being successful. Because every driver I've spoken to has gone, well, you can have the best car in the world, but unless you know how to set it up and spend time in the garage, you won't do anything. And that's kind of.
Yeah, I had a message off George Elwell. This is going back quite a few years. I knew George from Minis a bit.
Yeah.
And he says, I want to get an F1, but my dad's told me I've got to learn how to fix it first. I said, all right. He says, would you be willing for me to mechanic for you for a bit? So I said, yeah, sure. So he tagged along at meetings and helped me repair and stuff like that. And then I think once he knew how to repair it a bit, his dad said, right, we'll get you a car now. And he's turned into quite a good driver now, and he's got a good setup. But yeah, you meet good friends doing it as well. So
yeah, no, absolutely, it's a really sensible approach and to take.
It was.
Yeah, you mentioned Ministox as a great feeder formula. There's been quite a few drivers coming out of Minis recently into Formula One. Is there anybody you can see as, or you thought, yeah, they're a star of the future then?
It's got to be them Evans twins on it.
Yeah.
I first watched them in Venray in the Ministox, and they just cleaned up then. And that like the first meeting, I thought, bloody hell. And then we've not like grown up with. They've grown up like alongside us quite a bit, and they're really nice lads, and they're very determined to win.
Yeah.
But they're very helpful with each other as well, and I think them two have definitely got a big future ahead of them, because the dad's well into it and stuff like that. So Yeah, I think you can't look no further than them two.
No, I mean they did have an, I know though 2020 was a bit of a short season, not really a proper season. They still went out and beat a lot of people to win them races, on tarmac. So all credit to them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Lewis, he was even in a big block car, which people say you shouldn't race on tarmac because you need a small block, and Lewis proves that he can drive because he had a big block in. So no, I think definitely them two are going to be ones to watch.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they get on this season. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
So lots of drivers have rivalries on track, but you have a pretty intense one off track, don't you?
Yes.
It's a leading question.
Yeah, me and Joe quite. Yeah, we like to name drivers or do stuff like that. We've done it for years. I think we've both grown up same age and been around stock cars with both our fathers and that doing it. You just, I don't know, because we're quite close together as well. I think we just like to beat each other. Where's that car gone? Who's got that car now? And yeah, it's a bit of fun.
So this has come about because when we spoke to Joe Booth, he said, a bit of an anorak and always like to kind of identify, who's this driver, where's this driver gone, what happened to this car on Facebook. And he said, but if I get in there first too many times before Danny Wainman, he gets really upset. Is that true, or?
I just think Joe must have more time in his hands than playing on Facebook a lot more. I could only go on it at night, and by then Joe Booth's already commented and got it right. I don't know. It's one of them things. I think when you know a lot about the cars and a lot about the drivers, you get told where everything goes, and I don't know, when it's been your life for so long, I suppose it is a football fan could tell you which football players played for every team and how many goals they scored and everything, and that's what me and Joe like with stock cars, unfortunately.
No, it's a good thing to have. It's great knowledge to have. It's brilliant, absolutely. So apart from being a bit of a stock car anorak, your day job is to work alongside your dad, kind of building, renovating, transporting caravans. Was there ever a consideration to actually do something with stock cars and make that kind of your main source of income, sort of building stock cars or whatever it is?
No, definitely not, to be honest. That's what Frankie does for a living, a lot of it, and it's a thankful task a lot of the time working on a stock car, and especially for somebody else. And I don't know, I like building my own a lot of time. I build my own now, or I have done for the last few years, but I only like building with my mechanics, and we all have an input and stuff like that. But I think building them for somebody else, and you've got to do that right, you've got to do this right, and I don't know, I like getting out and about as well. You meet a lot of people doing caravan jobs, and you're out a lot of the time. So yeah, I just prefer that, I think.
Okay, lovely. If we just talk about Bradford for a moment, so what's your involvement been in supporting Steve getting the stadium back up and running?
To be honest, me and my dad weren't in it at the start. We weren't involved in a lot of the talks about the fence or anything, and it got thrown on us at the last minute that they needed us to put the ropes and everything in that we took from Bellevue and stuff like that. So we didn't do any design work as such. We've just gone to the designs of what was created by the people who was doing it. So we haven't had a lot of involvement in that side, but now I've took on the role of doing all the infield stuff, like trying to protect the grass and everything like that, and working with Steve on that. So I am going to keep in there for definite, because why not? It's Bradford. It's going to be amazing. So you want to do as much as you can to help.
Absolutely. So there's been, you mentioned the internet previously. There's lots of questions around how they are going to protect the infield. I mean, previously it was big wooden beams. Is it a top secret, or can you share what your thoughts are?
I don't know, because everybody else seems to think it's a top secret, but I don't. I'm quite looking forward to painting all these barrels and stuff like that. I think they'll be quite good, and how we're going to balance the logs on top of these barrels should be quite fun, I think. But
good.
Other than that, I think, as Steve keeps saying, you'll have to just turn up to the first meeting and see, which unfortunately for us is the bangers. So
yeah. Bangers will do well with barrels. I think it's good.
I think it will. I think it'll be an added thing.
Yeah, keeping it old school, bit of entertainment, brilliant. So clearly, you're very enthusiastic about Bradford, and it's going to have a great, it's going to be a real shot on the arm for the sport, isn't it, to have Bradford back? How do you think, as a sport, we can capitalise on that?
I think definitely for us where we work is around this area. You go on caravan jobs and they'll be like, "Oh, Wayman, that we used to go watch Frank Wayman at Nelson or Bradford," and like, "Oh, it's going back," and it's like, "Oh, we'll definitely go." And I think it's going to bring a lot of the old generation fans back, and especially it's brought a lot of drivers back, I think, and drivers wanting to do Shale a bit more now. And like the interview last week with Chris Lloyd, he's wanting to do it. I reckon a lot of that is because of Bradford coming back. There's a really good buzz around this sport at the minute.
Yeah. No, it does seem a real positive difference that stadium, that one stadium's made for the forthcoming season. And I guess you just make sure we harness it, isn't it? And it carries on into 22 and 23 and so on and so forth. It's not just a positive this year.
I think it will if he promotes. He's promoting it quite well, and I think if the drivers get behind it and it has 65 plus at each meet, not just the first one, I think that will help. I think car numbers make a big difference, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Coventry definitely had 60 cars at every Coventry, and I think if you get that at Bradford, and it should carry on.
Yeah, good, thank you. So I can't go any further without talking to you about Gears and Tears. So a few questions on the subject. When did you last watch it? Did you enjoy being a television celebrity? And when was the last time you got asked for your autograph in the street?
I'll do them in order.
Okay.
I only ever watched the whole thing when it came out on telly. So,
just once?
Yeah, I've only ever watched it once when it was on telly. We always keep watching the highlights because the highlight reel are funny and stuff like that. But I've only ever watched the whole thing once. But I think in a few years I'll show Zachary it and say, "Look, your dad's a TV star." But yeah.
Very good. So did you enjoy the filming of it? And I guess, or were you a bit uncomfortable with being on television?
The first few months of it, he was like, "Oh my god, the cameras are there," and stuff like that, and you try and do stuff different. Then you get like a few months further down the line, and you're like, "Oh god, they're coming back with the cameras," and you kept having to do a lot of things 2-3 times, and then when it came to it in the end, and half of it, well, I think it was only like 5% of what they actually filmed is shown, and it's like it was a drain on us, sort of thing. And I know they did one scene where we had to walk in a pub 4 times, and it's so embarrassing. And I think they took the first edit from it, and it's like, oh god, people are in there, general normal people are just in the pub having a meal, and we're walking in and out all the time with cameras. Yeah, and you can't mutter anything because you got microphones on.
Yeah.
So you can't really say anything.
Yeah. But they did capture that incredible scene in the King's Lynn pitch, you know, when you took the engine. I mean, that was like a huge moment in the sport. And I guess to have that filmed on the BBC, it was brilliant.
Yeah, that bit always makes you, like when you watch that on the highlights, it makes your hair stand on end because it hadn't been done. And yeah, it did come across really well. And I think we'd have done it without the cameras there. We definitely want for the cameras. It is how committed we are at getting out onto track and stuff like that. I know what the cameras didn't show after that is we all went home, and Frankie had blown my engine up that night as well. So my dad was at home. He got his car in the garage that didn't have an engine in, and I had to put an engine in that when I got home. And Frankie got home and redid all his tarmac car for Bellevue next day. Nobody went to sleep.
Right, okay.
They didn't show any of that bit.
No, they were all in bed. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, we got on quite well because nobody were filming. It was men. But yeah, no, we had a good time. We met a lot of really nice people doing it.
Yeah.
I don't think the sport capitalised on it nowhere near enough. I think a lot of promotion work should have been done the year after. I think if you guys were back then a bit, we might have more Facebook sort of thing. We'd have capitalised on it a bit more, but I think we missed a really big opportunity with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And did my final bit on that then, did you ever get stopped in the street or recognised in the street as Danny Wainman off of Gears and Tears?
I have been recognised from it a couple of times. I'm not being big-headed. We bought a wagon the other day off somebody up in Newcastle, and he came here to deliver it. And he said when he was talking to us, he sort of thought he'd recognise us, and it wasn't until he turned up here that he'd remembered that he'd watched Gears and Tears, and that's where he knew us from. Yeah. It was like, I couldn't believe it the other day. I was like, I'm shocked now to meet you. And I'm like, you met us fine the other day. Nothing's changed. But he was, like another person from Gears and Tears.
Yeah. So did he go all starstruck then?
He did when he came up here, yeah. And it's like, and my dad were like, my dad's hard work because he's hard of hearing, so I didn't hear him half the time. And it just gets awkward sometimes.
Thank you, Danny. So going back towards stock cars. So you previously served on the BSCDA committee. You're not on there at the moment. A couple of questions. Did you enjoy it? Why did you step down? And when you were in committee meetings, who was the most disruptive driver there?
Yeah, I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
It is a very hard job, and the lads on it, they don't get nowhere near enough credit for what you actually do. You could do 100 rule changes that make the sport better, but you do one bad one and you know about it. And it is a lot of banging your head against a wall a lot of the time. And I did it because at the time I was very enthusiastic about stock cars and wanting to go on it, and I think it needed a younger member on there to just give a different sight on things. And it was. I've come off because a couple of reasons. We've had a little boy, and I want to spend a bit more time at home, family wise, and he was just getting a bit. I don't know. He just didn't get any reward from it for a bit. It just seemed like we'd go to a meeting and we'd do all this stuff at a meeting, think it sounded great, and then you go home and then promoters are like, no, we can't do that, change this, do that, we're just doing it our way. And it's like, no, I've had enough of that. And to be honest, Frankie were putting his name forward and having two women's on a committee, Jesus. They already think it's in our favour half the time anyway.
So, brilliant. And so who was the most disruptive at meetings? Who was the naughtiest?
Mixed order. Every time. He'd be throwing sweet wrappers at you. Or I went to the toilet once and left my phone, so I had 6,000 pictures on my phone of him up his nose and everything like that. And it's definitely Mick. He's just a big kid. But yeah.
Did he ever get sent out? So like,
no, we didn't get sent out. I think we got told not to sit next to each other one time because we was having our own little meeting between us both. But
okay.
Paul Hines gets very strict at stock car BSCDA. He gets very strict.
Yeah. Matt Newson said that. Yeah, Matt Newson said it, yeah.
He has a briefcase and like a folder and everything. And
really?
His iPad out writing notes, and me and Mick turn up with a pen that was there for free, sort of thing, and just do doodles.
Yeah, brilliant. It's very insightful what you've shared about what goes on at committee meetings. So thank you for that, Danny. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's just Sophie does everything.
Does she?
So without Sophie, the BSCDA definitely fall apart. She does everything. She looks after us all.
Good. When she watches this back, she'll have that little clip then just on repeat over and over. Sophie's it's all fall apart. Sophie's brilliant. Yeah, she'll like that bit.
Oh, she knows it. I think definitely.
Danny, thank you. So let's talk about the forthcoming season. So as we sit here on a very kind of wet, windy bank holiday Monday, it's less than a month away. So you've had kind of a year and a half off from actually competing on track. What are you most looking forward to about going back racing?
Probably seeing everybody again. Really, with stock cars, it's been my life. I don't have friends as such round here. You know what I mean? It's a lot of just stock car friends, and I've been meeting up with quite a few of them, like Dan and Stuart and stuff like that. But I think Matt Newson's too far away for me to meet up with, and just being able to have a good chat with everybody again would be nice and stuff like that. And then obviously the racing side of it.
Yeah, that's what you're going for. But so I've asked quite a few drivers throughout these off-track interviews about whether a dual surface car is a realistic proposition in 2021. The main view is that no, it isn't. To compete competitively on both surfaces, you need one car for shell, one car for tarmac. This year, as we're going to see very shortly, you've chosen to race a dual surface car, so on one car, both surfaces. So why is that? And do you genuinely believe you can compete at the front of the sport, at the top of the sport, with a dual surface car?
Yes and no, really. I think the main reason why I went to do one car is I blew an engine up in my shale car the week before my semi-final. We had no time at all to basically change the engine, so my dad says, well, we'll change the car, you race your tarmac car. And I previously raced my tarmac car and shale a few times, but done minimal alterations. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to try and get better shockers, like shocker mounts on and stuff like that. And I went out, did one lap in the semi-final and brought the torque arm. I'm like, bad season, carrying on. And when you get down and disheartened and stuff like that, my dad went, come on, fix it, go and win the consolation. And I didn't win. I think I got second, and it was probably the best I'd driven in a long time on shale. And he sort of said, right, we'll just, until we get the other engine back, you're racing this on shale. And I did really well.
Yeah.
And I'd done quite a few meetings on it, and we sort of said, yeah, we'll do that. And then the year after, it was going to be, I was going to race my tarmac car all the time and have the shale car sat there just for if I needed it. And I made a front axle just for tarmac that you swap the falling arms, and 2 lads on a night. We had it done in half an hour. And it got to the point where I was competitive then again on both surfaces. With tarmac, you always have practice before.
Yeah.
So you have then a little bit of time just to get your car right. On shale, you can get away with it in E1 a lot of the time and make your tweaks for the final. So I don't know. When I decided to go for definitely for one car is because we needed money to buy we bought a lodge to live in now, me and Jess. We sort of needed to get some money out of it. And 2 years ago, stock cars weren't looking very good, I don't think. We'd lost Coventry, Bellevue would go in, Stoke would go in. It was, why do you need 2 cars to race at 2 shale tracks and 2 tarmac tracks? So we sort of said then, and I sold my shale car and I've just got the one now. I think one car's got a good engine in it. A good team behind me makes it easy to swap. And you check. I know Matt said like you need a front axle and stuff like that, and that's how I do it. Different shockers, so everything gets checked. So I'm quite lucky that all my lads can weld. So they'll do the structural work of the car if I've got damage, and I can focus on the little things that sort of get you to do well in races.
Okay. You know, when we spoke earlier on and you spoke about engines, and you said kind of a lot of it may be in your head, actually, because you know you've got a more expensive engine, so in theory you can go faster. Do you think there's a bit of that around the fact I need to have 2 cars to be competitive, but actually you don't? Do you think it is kind of in drivers' heads a little bit?
I think it could be a lot of the time. I think Tom Harris proved it a few years back when he raced a Cecil car on tarmac and shale, and he did very well. And I think on your day, if you just get the right setup on a car, no matter what car it is, it'll go right. I think there's a couple little alterations in the rule book which would make it a little bit easier to make it a bit more competitive. But the one thing that Matty touched upon, and this is one thing I am nervous about doing one car, is engine wear.
Yeah.
I am really lucky that Chris Fort does my engines.
Okay.
We do it in house, we do it ourselves, so he does it for free. So when a rebuild comes and he goes, right, needs this, this, and this, because you're not paying somebody for the labour, you can put better parts in or more parts in. So you are getting a bit more reliability. But I think engine wear is one thing that I'm worried about.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
lucky for me, Frankie's got 3 hire cars now, so all right. One of them.
He'll be too busy racing to get out of the yard first, so you can just put one on and he won't even notice.
Well, he's got that many trucks and that now. He'll struggle to fit them all up dry, so I might be able to have a free run out now.
So you mentioned potentially could be some rule changes to help with a dual surface car proposition. So what are they?
I think the main difference that separates a tarmac car and a shale car is the rear weight. I think if you brought them a bit closer together, that might be one. I think the best shale cars, out-and-out shale cars that are the best, have got quite a lot of rear weight.
Yeah. And
then the best tarmac cars have got no rear weight.
Yeah.
So I just think it's only little things, I think, and just dedication. If you've got good dedication to your mind committed to doing one car, I think it is good enough. But I'm not going to do every meeting like I used to. I had 2 cars, I'd probably stick at doing every meeting. I'm cutting back on meetings to spend more time with the family and just what's that saying? Less is more sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
We spend a lot of money on fuel. We're living where we are. you don't buy tyres every weekend or brake pads or shockers and do less. You can buy more. Is what I'm saying is.
No, that's absolutely makes sense to me, certainly. Fingers crossed it does work, but let's say it doesn't. Would you ever consider going back down the 2-car route in the future?
It depends on an engine. I'd need another engine now to do it, and psychologically, I need a 20 grand engine.
Yeah.
So unless some nice British sponsor wants to come along and sponsor me an engine, then for now I'll probably stick to the 1 car. Like I say, I've got Carl Hawkins, I've got Frankie Wainman who build cars for me. I can just go build me a car, and I think Carl would build me one for nothing. He just loves doing stuff like that. So I could have another car easy. But I want to build a new car more for a dual surface car.
Yeah.
Mine is, to be honest, quite an out-and-out tarmac car. Engine's a long way forward.
Yeah.
So I do struggle on the opening laps on the shale. But the end of the shale race is rapid. So, but a lot of races, they say a lot of races aren't won in the first bend, but in the first few laps, a lot of races are won.
Yeah. But the shale tracks that we've got, you know, sort of King's Lynn, Northampton, Bradford, the you know, big sort of smooth tracks, which and I can't remember who said it, but almost, no, it will be. Yeah, it will be smooth. Maybe I've seen pictures. It looks smooth.
It always looks smooth on the pictures.
What was I going to say? You're throwing me now. But they've become almost like tarmac towards the end anyway.
Yeah, they do. You look at Sheffield. I think Charlie Sorder went there because it was his semi-final. Was going to load up, and Guy Parker said, "Get out in that consolation. You can't just do your one race and load up." And he went out in consolation, and really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So Guy says, "Right, you qualify for the final. You're going out." Charlie did it. He went out and won final. Yeah. Out and out tarmac car. Not done a right lot to it, but how you race Sheffield is a lot like tarmac.
Yeah.
So it is better in some respects. I think King's Lynn on a dry, dusty night is like tarmac as well. So
yeah.
I think if you're racing at Stoke again and Bellevue and stuff like that, I think a shale car might be needed. If there were 6 or 7 shale tracks and 6 tarmac tracks, I think I'd go back to 2. But for now, I'll definitely keep me 1.
Brilliant. Okay. You sort of touched about what 2021 looks like. So have you set yourself any kind of goals, targets, aspirations for the forthcoming season?
You definitely want to get in the World Final now. It's at Bradford. Especially in a home track, I think that's definitely one I'd like to do. My aim is to get back and keep my superstar. I've been 5th in the points for last year, and just kept missing out on the superstar because they dropped it to 4 again. And I think if I can keep my superstar again, with 1 car, we'll prove something. I know Andy Smith did it years ago. He was an out-and-out superstar, but I think back then, I think you had like 5 decent drivers and 25 that couldn't. I think it's opposite way around now. There's 25 drivers out there who could win any race, and only 2 that can't. Yeah. And unfortunately for them, they're just novices in Matt Newson cars. It's not a case of we can't drive. It's just their first meeting. I think anybody now on track, you can't be the winner. No, you absolutely can't. It's open now. Whereas 2000 to 2005, it were Frank, Andy, or even Gilbank back then, wasn't it? I think so. Yeah, no, absolutely it is. When you look at a meeting final, John Lund. I forgot John Lund. I can't forget John Lund. Don't forget John Lund. No, don't forget John Lund. No. I know. We'd have to end it there, Danny. Yeah. Criticised on that. Edit that out, Jordan. You mentioned Bradford and getting the world final at Bradford. However, do you think Frankie will be really cross if you want to race before him back at Bradford this year? Frankie will be cross if anybody wins a race before him. I think if they do, I don't know when they're doing the shootout race. I don't know if that's at Bradford. But if I'm in Heat 1 and he's in Heat 3, he'll be spewing. I think he'll be wanting to be Heat 1, definitely. I think when we went back to Stoke, I think he won first race back there. He's very good at winning races at tracks you go back to. I think he's just got confidence, hasn't it? Any track. So so the Rainbow Roof final is going to be Heat 1 at Bradford when he's taking on Mark Sargent. So it could be quite. I think it's Heat 3. Is it Heat 3? Maybe Heat 3. Yeah. I thought it was Heat 3, isn't it? You always leave a championship bit later on in meeting. Can't be
Wow, they were saying Heat 1.
Nah, put it as Heat 3. I can win a race then before he can.
I've worked with Steve about whatever you do with the infield. While you're up there sorting that out, Steve, you know, you said for the race final, we just need to move it back a couple of races. Good.
Yeah, definitely.
So, Danny, thank you for talking about what 2021 looks like. It's now time to reveal your car for the new season. Danny, over to you.
Yeah, so here's my car for 2021. It's my tarmac car. I've turned properly now into a dual surface car, and I hope you all like it. I've got a couple of new sponsors this year with Marwood Caravan Park and Russell Andrews, who've come on board with my usual sponsors. And definitely without my sponsors, it won't be happening. And I'd like to say a special thanks to my team who've come up and helped me get the car ready, and my mum and dad and Jess for all their help as well. So the car's over to you.
Danny, the car looks absolutely fantastic, and some great photos there. I think Ian Bannister came up and did them for you. It looks brilliant, absolutely.
Yeah, it turned out a lot better than I expected. I don't have a lot to say with it. I take the car to Steve and say, right, it's got to have some orange on it and red. So I orange and red, and he paints the car. And then I said to Brian Evans, there's the sponsors, put them on the car. And yeah, I'm not an artistic person or anything like that. So leave it all up to the people who know what they're doing, I think. And it has turned out really nice. The chassis colour's a bit different.
Yeah.
It went wrong to start with. That was me who painted that, because it was already painted when I sent it to Steve, and I repainted it, reacted, and then I stressed out and went and got some grey, and then it was too light, so I just tipped a lot of black into the grey and made that colour. And
it's a great colour.
It looked all right, actually. So.
Yeah, I thought so. Because when you sent me the pictures, I saw the chassis colour. I was like, that's really nice. It really sets it off, but pure accident.
It was a stressful accident. Definitely stressful. When I first painted the grey that I bought, Frankie come in and went, all right, what colour are you painting it? What do you mean? He went, is that not primer? I'm like, yes, it looks like primer. So he went, what can you do now then? So we just had a lot of black left. So we tipped that in the tub and mixed it up, and he came down 20 minutes later and went, oh, that looks better. So all right.
Brilliant. Cheers, Danny. Thank you. Right, so there's your car. I want to talk a little bit about lockdown. So hopefully we've finished with lockdowns, but when they were happening, we couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything, so we had to stay at home. So did you guys ever have a massive game of hide and seek at the farm?
No, we didn't. Oh. But I wish we did.
Yeah.
There's plenty of places to hide. My dad hides everything, so he'd definitely win, because God, he comes. Dad, have you got one of them? Yeah, like he'll disappear for 20 minutes and come back with it. And he's like, "Where you been for that?" I'm not telling you. I'm like, and then you can't follow him because he just disappears. He's like, he's eating me. But, yeah, there's plenty of places to hide up here anyway.
Good. So just maybe, like on a summer's day when there's no stock car racing, suggest it, and it'll be a good game to play. Your dad will win, obviously.
When I was a little boy, I used to play it with all my schoolmates. We 10 or 12 of us up here playing hide and seek around the farm and stuff, but never as an adult. But might be something we could do.
Absolutely, mate. Take it. That's your one takeaway from tonight's interview. So going back to the racing a little bit, do you have any pre-race rituals or superstitions?
I have a couple. I always make sure I give Jess a kiss before I go out, and probably this year I might have to give Zachary a kiss now he's growing up a bit. And if I do well in a certain pair of overalls, I'll wear that overalls no matter what surface. So I do have a tarmac set and a shale set as such, but say I do well in my tarmac set, and I'll take that one to shale and stuff like that, or vice versa. But yeah, no, I don't kiss a lucky egg or anything like Sanka. But, no.
But no, absolutely, we're in the same overall, so that's definitely a good kind of superstition thing you've got going on there. I like that. It's good.
Yeah. We wash them.
Oh, okay. All right.
6 good meetings on the row, and I'm like, not washing them. No, they're washed every time.
Yeah, they could be a bit smelly. So yeah, good. Yeah. What's been your funniest or most bizarre moment in your involvement in stock car racing?
Most bizarre probably was a blowhouse a few years ago. We all went over for the King's Battle. Frankie came over, and there was one race where we went to go onto the track and it started raining. Now, in Holland, they line you up as you go onto the track. You basically go straight to your rolling lap and go. Because how blowhouse is set, they don't have a pit gate. And it started raining and it's clear, so it's very slippy. And I remember like setting off down the first straight, and the flagman was waving the green flag, and I wasn't actually moving. I'm like looking at the flagman, and we finally sort of gets a bit of a race, I say race pace, a tractor pace going. Yeah. And little Frankie spun out on the top bend, and nothing I could do. I went towards him sideways like that, and it was that slow. I looked at him, waved, he put his thumb up to me, and I just looked at him like that, and I carried on, and the race just lasted forever. And I think like lap times were like a minute or something like that, for like 15 seconds. It was just ridiculous, but it was really enjoyable to do it.
Okay.
But yeah, that was bizarre to race on.
Yeah,
definitely.
It must have been like you're racing in slow motion. Like,
oh, it was. You had so much time to think and do things, but it was so hard to drive. It was unreal, and cars were just going everywhere and stuff like that. It was fun. Brilliant.
Thank you for that. So my last question. So we're going to do a match race with you and 3 other drivers from any era. It's going to be in a formula with equal cars. So who are you going to choose?
Now, I have thought about this one quite a bit. Lee Fairhurst for one, because me and Lee always race together. We always seem to be crashing on the track together. We've like grown up together. We go karting. Well, we used to go karting quite a bit now, but we're both dads, so we can't really do that anymore. Not until they start racing go-karts, and we can go play. But yeah, I really enjoy racing with Lee. He's a very clean and hard driver, so I'd pick Lee. Somebody from an older era would be Bert Finnegan.
Okay.
I just think he was really good. He's a nice man as well, and he's dead clean. I think I don't like dirty drivers, sort of thing. You know what I mean? So, and then last person would be my dad.
Yeah.
And I only did one meeting as such with him, and I think I actually did one race with him really, because we're in different heats. So I'd like to actually race against my dad and stuff like that. And yeah.
Brilliant. That's brilliant answers. Thank you. Because it was a testimonial meeting, wasn't it? When your first, and your dad was finishing, wasn't it? When you were at Sheffield, and it rained. Did it rain? I'm sure it rained.
Did it rain?
Sure
Jesus Christ. Sheffield had 60 cars. The pit's couldn't flood because there were that many transporters in there, but bloody hell, it rained.
Yeah. I do remember that.
They actually they cancelled the last race. The last race was supposed to be like an old people's race, not old people's race, like people who've raced with my dad, sort of thing, racing. And they sort of knew they were going to cancel it, so Bob Squire went out in Dan's car for the F1 final and won it. But they had to make it look like Dan had got out of the car when he won. But, so I think the year after, I think Bob had to go a couple of times because he did really well on that race.
Brilliant. Right, so that was my question. I have just thought of one other question. So you mentioned your dad a few times throughout this interview, and obviously his nickname was Smiler. He always seems very happy. Have you ever seen him really angry? Or what makes him?
Yeah, when I come off the track, 90% of the time, that's when I see him angry.
Okay.
No, to be honest, he's normally quite laid back with me when we're racing. Every now and again, he'll say, "Right, you need to sort him out. He's dicking you about too much.
Yeah.
Just go out there and make sure he knows your presence, sort of thing." But he don't get involved too much unless I'm sort of struggling.
Yeah.
Like he's because he's been around it so much. He's very good at coming in the garage and going, "Why don't you just do it that way?"
Yeah.
And you go like that because you know his way is just going to be easier.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. You go, "Why can't I think like that?" But
Yeah.
he's really clever at doing things, and especially with caravan jobs, we
Yeah.
specialise in doing the stuff you shouldn't be doing and getting caravans into places we shouldn't. And he's so brainy at stuff. We have pulleys going off different trees, and he's like a younger Fred Dibner from like an our generation.
Yeah, yeah.
And we have them pulling in all different directions. We're just building a new wagon now for the job, and it's got decks on it and everything. No caravan transporter's got a deck on it, and he's building one to have decks on that lifts the caravan 10 feet in the air.
Okay.
I've got to drive it, so he has the easy part. But yeah, he's very, very clever man, and I do owe a lot to him. Him and Frankie. Frankie looks after me still quite a bit, and we'll be in garage, and I'll go, "Come down here and sort this out. I've knackered this up," or stuff like that. Frankie's really clever. So.
Yeah. And is your dad still as passionate about stock cars as he was back in his heyday, if you like?
I'd have said so, yes. He's very... You go to any track and he's always there, either helping little new drivers or just helping with tractors, with a fence. He's always there working. Even helping, like I said, Murray Jones, when he started, I became good friends with Murray just through my dad, just talking to him and giving him a bit of advice. And he does that with quite a lot of drivers on the quiet.
Yeah.
Goes around and talks to them and just gives advice, really.
No, I think, as a spectator, your dad is a very visible presence at a stock car meeting, like the fence is down at Sheffield and your dad's there, do you know what I mean, fixing it or directing or whatever. And I think everybody sees your dad as like not Mr. Stock Car, but do you know what I mean? He's just always there at stock cars and always...
One of the best ones was that Sheffield when it flooded on at the track.
Yes,
the river had flooded it back up.
On the back straight,
There were Facebook memes of him flying around on this tractor with his shirt on going, if nobody can fix it, Frank can, and he's there. And he's like, we got the semi-final in and we got the meeting in, and he probably wouldn't have happened if my dad didn't, or the track wouldn't have been as good.
No.
And they're like, he went there and straight away blocked the pipe up, and everybody's like, "What are you blocking the pipe up for?" He went, "It's coming from there, it's not coming from up there." And they was like, "Oh, right." And it's like, he blocked that up, and then they got a tanker in, and he was spreading it around the track, and he got it to work. And
it did. I do remember because I'd gone on the track with my dad, and we were looking at everybody was there looking at the water going. There's no racing. And like I say, your dad going around on the tractor with spreading the water about. I was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's very committed with it. I think if Bradford hadn't come back, he might have started not going as much, if you know what I mean. We are really busy with the caravan jobs, and we don't like to work for Saturdays or Sundays. It's their days for stock cars and stuff like that. But with this lockdown, we've been working quite a lot of days, a lot of weekends and stuff. And I think if Bradford hadn't come back, I think we've been thrown in at Bradford doing the infield stuff, and it's a big job that we've got to actually do. And he's going to be overseeing that with me, so it is keeping him interested, definitely.
Good. Danny, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you this evening. Thank you so much for your time. Anything you'd like to say before we go?
Just big thank you to you and Jordan, really. I was very nervous at the start of this, I know that, and I texted you saying, has anybody else been this nervous? And you really reassured me, and it's been great. And I think a lot of drivers have, not just drivers, but fans have watched these interviews, and they get to see a lot of different aspects of stock cars and different aspects of the drivers as well. I think, like you said with Stuart, he comes across very determined at the track, and I want to say grumpy, which he is, but off the track he isn't, is he? He's genuine, he's funny, and I think that came across on the telly on these interviews. And I think you've done a fantastic job. You've really kept us entertained through the lockdown and stuff like that. I think it's been fantastic.
Cheers, Danny. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. It's very kind words. On that note, we shall go. So thank you for being the last one of the current season. And I'll see you at Kingston. Thank you.